Okay, looks like we are going. All right, so welcome everybody. This is week number 5, right? Am I correct in that? And so let me share my screen and we'll start with our presentation here today. All right, so just as a start off, just remember as you jump into the webinar to mute your mic if you're on live. That kind of helps the rest of us with the background noise if there might be background stuff that's happening. That's helpful if you can mute your mic. And then just unmute if you have a question or if you need to say something, or if you're presenting today, then you would unmute your mic. Okay, I just had a few other things. As I was looking through homework and stuff with my section of the class, it just seemed like there were sometimes people forgot to do something or whatever, and so I created this assignment doc, which you can see. You can click on the link here if you would like this document. I'll open it up really quick just so you can see what it looks like. Basically what I've done is just taken everything that you're supposed to do each week and made it a checklist. I'm kind of one of those people that I like to check it off. So if this is helpful to you, this is just everything that you do every week, and you can just put a check mark by it to make sure that you've done it. And hopefully that's helpful in seeing the organization as well as we go throughout the class, so you're not missing anything. Okay, so if that's helpful to anybody, you're more than welcome to make a copy of this for your own records or print it out on a piece of paper or whatever you want, and then that way you can check mark off the boxes. So hopefully that's helpful. And again, that you can just get to that by clicking on the link in the slideshow that is embedded in Canvas for the overview of week 5. Okay. Just as a really quick overview, the outline of the course is that every week we have the seminar on Thursday at 4. If you can join live, that's always great because we like to not talk to ourselves. We want to be able to talk to people. So thank you to all of you who joined live today. If you can't join live, you are still responsible for the information that's in the seminar, so you need to watch it. And we try to get that posted at least by Friday in the Canvas course on the overview page for that week. And then there's always a reading, there's always a discussion. We want to make sure that your original post is done by Sunday and that you've replied to at least 2 other people you've done replies to by Wednesday for that week to count. Okay, and then your assignments, and these are weekly-ish. So that's why I kind of made that document that I showed you at the first, is sometimes it's hard to follow along as what all the moving parts of this class are. So weeks 2 through 8, you are creating artifacts with your assignments. And then you're going to show or use those with students and get feedback, or, and this is what we clarified last week, or you can share this with a colleague and get feedback on it. And then that's what you put in your reflection. So you submit your artifact, and then you also submit a reflection, and that includes what your students gave back to you or your colleagues said back to you, your reflection of how you might change it or modify it, or if it was great. And then you also will want to add those artifacts to your digital portfolio. You just keep building that as you go. When we get to weeks 7 through 11, then that's when you're working on your technology integration project. And just as a reminder, you'll want to take photos or videos or some type of way that you can have student samples that you can include as an artifact in your digital portfolio as well as part of your technology integration project. So I just wanted to clarify that. With the technology integration project, over here on the right-hand side is the steps for that project, but you can also see that in the assignments. If you go to assignments and go to technology integration project, you'll see all the steps for that. But just as a reminder, you need to come up with a plan and then share that plan with your instructor. We want to have conference with you by week 8. So you want to make sure you've had that conference by that time. So if you haven't had that conference yet, you'll want to make sure you've signed up for that, and you should find out that information of how to sign up with your instructor and how to go about that conference on your instructor's homepage for this course. So just go back to the homepage and it should say on the homepage how you have that conference with your instructor. If you haven't yet, check there. Some people may be planning to do their projects together, meaning the same project, and that's okay. However, in the implementation, because each classroom and group of students is unique, then your examples of student work generated should also be unique. So you may have the same project, but what you're going to show as your samples will be different. And then just, again, reminder, take photos or video to get those samples. Ask your students questions about what did they like, what did they not like about that whole project, and include those examples in your individual presentation that you put on your portfolio. And then lastly, don't forget that part about writing the reflection. That is another piece of that technology integration plan, is that you will write a reflection paper about that. You review the planning and the implementation and your thoughts, how it went, what can you improve, what can you avoid doing next time because it went horribly wrong, or whatever happened. But however you can do, or if you have ideas of how you can augment that for the next iteration of doing that particular project and build upon your work. So just as a reminder. And then that's all due week 11. So just be thinking about it, be preparing for it, make sure you execute it no later than starting week 7. Okay, the digital portfolio is due week 12. You should have already established your link or where you're going to put everything on your portfolio, and you should have already shared it to our peer review document. And your digital portfolio is going to include your educational philosophy, your tech integration project artifact. It only says to have one, but you can do all of them if you want. So that's your choice. You can just have one or all of what you put together. And then your transformation statement, your learning journey presentation, and then anything else that you desire that might help in that portfolio, you're welcome to put in. But those are the requirements for the portfolio. And there's a link to an example one here. It's the same as what's on the actual assignment page for your digital portfolio. I also noticed that in a few places it's also called an online portfolio. Those are the same thing. Digital portfolio, online portfolio, exact same thing. Okay. Any questions so far on just a quick overview of the whole course? You can unmute your mic or type in the chat. And maybe, Tony, you can follow along in the chat, because as I'm recording, I can't see the chat right now. So.
Please, so if we take a photo, Carol, if we take a photo with videos of students, do we need your permission to put it into our portfolio?
So here's a good thought on that. With the photos and videos of your students, you would not want to include student names or any identifiable information, right? So you'll want to kind of block those out as best you can. However, the only people that are going to be seeing this on your digital portfolio are the peer review when we do the peer review. So someone else in our class will see that, and then your instructor. And so, yes, please try to be as careful as possible. However, we still want to see student samples, photos, and videos. So typically in your school district, you have an opt-out of that. So just make sure you're not taking a picture of or videotaping a student who has opted out of being included in that. Or if that's not the case in your district, maybe find out if you need to get permission, because you may have a different something in your district. Okay, so just double check on that as far as privacy. But as far as I know, at least in Davis School District, we have an opt-out of that, and so we don't have to get permission for things like this beforehand, unless we know that a student has been opted out. Then we just exclude them from our photos or videos and make sure we don't include them. So hopefully that answered that question well enough, and you may need to just check with someone in your district about that. But also know, I mean, you're putting that out there in your portfolio, so technically anybody could see it, but really for the purposes of this class, it's just going to be a peer review of someone in our class and your instructor who will see it. Okay. Okay, so coming up, another part of your whole experience is that you need to attend a conference, and the USET conference is fabulous, and I know some of you are attending. I know some from my section are attending. So it's March 5th and 6th, and it's held down at the Utah Valley Convention Center. And if you are going, you might want to also volunteer. So Clint Stevens, who's another colleague of ours from Southern Utah, is in charge of all the volunteers, and he sent out an email this week, hey, please get volunteers. So I thought I would put in a plug for Clint. If you are interested in volunteering at USET, it's kind of cool. You get a cool t-shirt, and it's usually just 1 or 2 sessions that you'll have to volunteer to kind of help direct people. And it's really fun. I did it last year. I loved it. So if you're interested, go ahead and click on the links from the presentation that's in Canvas, and you can volunteer. And then also coming up, the URSA conference for those of you in the rural schools. That's a great conference, July 10th through the 12th. And for Davis School District, we're having a Davis Technology Conference, and in the meeting, we usually have it in July, and we just had a meeting. We might have to move it to August because of some scheduling issues. So I will announce when I finally hear when we're having it, when we know. But just heads up, it might be the first week of August. So, okay, moving on. So for this coming week, your reading is about interacting with new knowledge, and it's chapter 4 out of our textbook. And then there's also some supplemental reading that you can read along with that. The supplemental, personally, I really like the supplemental stuff, so I just read it all because I like as much knowledge as I can. But this is what will help you to answer the discussion question after you've read the chapter and looked at those. If you need to, you can look back at weeks 2, 3, and 4 when we had seminar presentations on the elements that are included in chapter 4 of our text. And then for the discussion, it's kind of about spreadsheets. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, spreadsheets, what do you use them for? Well, give them a chance. Honestly, there's lots of creative ways that you can use spreadsheets and implement them in your class. So that's what the discussion is all about, and how you can do that. So there are certain times when I'm like, oh my gosh, I need it to do this. So it's a spreadsheet that I go to, and it's a totally different way of using a spreadsheet than I've ever thought of before. But because somebody shared an example with me, I'm like, oh, thank you. That totally solved my problem right there of what I needed it to do. So give them a chance. They're awesome. And then for your assignment, this one's kind of interesting. So you'll need to make sure that you really look closely at what all the assignment entails. So you're going to identify 3 standards in a current or an upcoming unit that you're going to teach. So you're going to write out those standards. And then you're going to write or curate, meaning you can find questions from other places, for each of those identified standards to kind of start this question bank. So a bank of questions, right? Then you're going to use those questions to assess your students and then get feedback from them, just like we've done on all of the other assignments we've done. You try it out and get the feedback. If you're not able to do it actually with students, make sure you've at least checked with a colleague and get a review from a colleague so that you can reflect on it. And then you reflect on it. So you'll turn in your bank of questions as your submission for this assignment. I'm just going to bring up this example one here so you can see kind of what this looks like. So for example, if I had an art standard, I've chosen 3 different art standards. This one is which is not a primary color, and then this next one actually goes to an image, but it's talking about the artist, and then this one is impressionism is defined as, okay? And then I'm going to put all of the answers that I might have them choose from. And then on the last column is where I put which one of these was the correct answer, okay? So for example, which is not a primary color, okay? So red, yellow, blue, black. Black is the correct answer. So over here in the correct answer box, I put D as my correct answer. Okay, so hopefully everybody understands. So my art standard, the question that goes with that standard, the answers, and then the correct answer. So that's how you're putting together your answer bank, and then that's what you will submit along with, don't forget, your reflection, okay, on that assignment. All right, questions on the assignment?
Speak up, because I'm not seeing anything in the chat, friends.
Okay, well, I did a good job of explaining. Maybe, I don't know.
Great job. Keep it up, Carol.
Okay, all right. So we're now to that point where we have seminar presentations, and I'm so excited that the ones that have happened in the past have been so excellent, and I'm just excited for people tonight as well. So our first up is Lynn, Kelly, and Crystal, and are they on the call? Did they want to do this live, or do I?
This is Lynn. I'm here.
Awesome. So Lynn, do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to play it? What do you want to do?
If you could play it, that would be great, because I have it in different chunks and pieces and don't have it all put together in one nice form. So.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So let me open up. I hope this is the right one. Give me 1 second. Hang on. Does that sound like the right one?
It could be.
Was yours practicing and deepening knowledge?
Ours is reviewing content.
Reviewing content. I might have the wrong one. Hang on 1 second. Let me see if I can just pull it from here. Does this look right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, perfect.
So this, let's see. So you're going to need to hit play.
Okay.
I might need to talk really fast. How's that?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so I had the overview, and so just the building block to new content. New content is really that knowledge builds on knowledge. So there's a couple of notes about that, but really just as we learn the new concepts we have, we need to attach them to something that we already have in our brain. It needs a placeholder, and so to be able to review is really important as we help students access the new information because they need a place to put it. So that's essentially what that says. And then there are 4 different types of reviews that were mentioned in that part of the text: the closed activities, summaries, demonstrations, and questioning. So I'm just giving an overview, and then the other people will have presentations about some of them. So okay. Summaries, if you want to click on the one that's, I'm not sure which one goes next, but hit play. Yep, reviewing what you know in a sentence or two, so nothing special about that. We probably all know what summaries are. Demonstrations are completing a task with what you already know, so maybe if it was something scientific, performing that task again, repeating what you've done the day before or the few days before. Questioning is when teachers can ask students strategic questions about what they've learned to help students have good recall. And I would add to that also allowing students to ask questions about what they've learned previously to engage the whole class in a conversation about recall of the previous lessons. And then my particular part of this in terms of closed activities is when students have pieces of previously learned activity and you ask them to fill in the gaps. So fill in the blanks, things where they have part of the information but not all of it. Maybe you give them the beginning and they need the end, or vice versa. So if you want to click on, there's a few ideas of digital tools that could be useful for this. So Google tools are really great. A Google Doc that had fill in the blank, or Google Slides that also give information or parts of information, being able to set up a template and then have students fill in the pieces that they're missing. And then Google Forms too can be used for that, as far as just kind of a quiz or an exit ticket, or in this case maybe an entrance ticket for what they recall from the day before. Mentimeter is a tremendous polling tool. It seems like it's a little more business centered, but it works well in education too, just to get a gauge for what your students remember from the day before, what they already know, and where the gaps are that you might need to review. And then clickers, if you're not familiar with clickers, it's kind of fun. You can quickly scan the class by asking them questions and then getting responses and as a teacher, really get an easy read on what they know, what they don't know, and be able to move forward. So those are that's the details of close activities to help review.
Okay, so is that the end of your part?
That's the end of, yeah, that's the end of my piece.
Perfect. Okay, so I think that this is the next piece. Does that look right? I'm hoping that this is the right one.
It should be summaries, questioning. It should be the other parts of that.
Okay, so maybe this isn't the one. Hang on. Let's see. Well, let me put this here for a minute. Let me just see if I got the right one.
Oh, okay. What is the little?
Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, I think
it looks like it. Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm going to hit play, and hopefully, if you can't hear it, please put in the chat, and Tony, let me know if people can't hear it, okay? Okay. Great job, all of you. Thank you, Lynn, for jumping in live, and thanks to those other two for sending theirs in so that we could play it. Are they on the call? I'm thinking that's why they sent it in, as I don't think they were on the call.
Yeah, they're not on the call, and I was just the representative.
Awesome. Good job, Lynn. Thank you very much. Okay. So next we have organizing students to practice and deepen knowledge, and this is Elaine, Jerry, and Austin, and I know that Austin is going to present, and Elaine and Jerry I don't think were able to be on the call. So I am going to stop sharing so that Austin can jump on. Okay, well, Austin's pulling that up. I saw that Lynn had a question about the question bank. And Lynn, I think that would be fine to do it in Google Form and use the Google Sheet as your spreadsheet. Just make sure that it includes all of the information like the template has. So if it has all of that information, then absolutely just submit that Google spreadsheet as your assignment form. Okay?
So we could take the form, modify the information in the form, and then submit that.
And then submit that, correct. And that should work for that assignment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, looks like Austin's ready. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Austin Green. I work in Davis School District, and I'm representing our group, Jerry Smith, Elaine Peterson, and myself. So I picked this one. Well, we all picked this one because of the DOK levels, and I think we're really trying to get students to really deepen their knowledge. And this was a really good element to pick because it gives some really good ideas on how to deepen that understanding for students to get to those deeper DOK levels of 3 and 4. So with that, we're going to share some of our findings from this element. So it really broke it into 3 parts. The cooperative learning, which has been around for quite a while, cooperative comparisons, and then performances and peer critiques. So we can go to each of these elements. So first, in the cooperative learning, we know that grouping students is really good to help them to learn, but it gave some really good tools that we can use to help group those students. And one that they talked about a lot was Team Maker. And I know there's a lot of other ones as well, but however you want to organize those groups to get them cooperating. But Team Maker, from the reading, it will actually assign them a role in that group, either as discussion leader or word finder or some other role. So that one's a really, really good one. And then moving down the list, when they are actually creating their ideas and presentations, it really recommends using some mind mapping tools. And I know we're all familiar with graphic organizers, but just to give it a technology enhancement, you can really use mind mapping. They have MindJet, there's Coggle, EduCreations. I mean, we can go down the list. There's a lot of mind mapping tools out there. But they also recommend just doing it through video as well, using some kind of screencastify, so that way they can share ideas and kind of talk through their ideas together. And then things like Kahoot and Quizzes and Quizlet, they can actually set up practice questions and share that with each other and with the teacher. These are kind of more of the same to deepen that understanding. After you select those groups, when you actually have them start working and doing their creations, there are some more tools that you can use, which a lot of us are probably familiar with. And being in Davis School District, it's kind of unique because we actually, a lot of the things that I see are on Google, but we actually use Microsoft. And maybe adding this element, a lot of people might not know about this, but Microsoft has a really good collaborative tool in their system called Teams. And students can really work together in a cooperative group using Teams. So I just want to kind of share that one as well, get that one out there. So, and for our last couple of slides, using a performance or a peer critique. So when they're sharing, they can review each other's peer critique. A lot of what we're doing in our class here, we can do that. and offer that for students as well, so they can give each other feedback, prepare presentations, and prepare videos as well. So I was just trying to read through there and make sure I was on the right one here. But I think one to really bring out here is the iMovie, and using those kind of presentations where students have to edit and give each other feedback, and kind of the back and forth, it really helps students to really work through those levels and get down to the deeper levels where they need to comprehend the information, in which they will if they're working at those deeper levels. So with that, that's our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Austin. Appreciate you representing everybody. That was an excellent presentation you all put together. And next up we have Janine and Carly. And I was trying to see if they were on. I think they also had the same where they just sent it to me and I was going to play it. So let me share my screen again. And I will pull theirs up.
Hi, this is Carly Fay and Janine Christensen, and we are doing our presentation on element 16. It is on homework. Homework can be a great tool as long as it's used correctly and properly so that students are not overwhelmed at home and that we can use it as an assessment tool as well. The three strategies we're going to be talking about today are preview homework, homework to deepen knowledge, and homework to practice or process the skills. The first concept we're going to be talking about is preview homework. That is when, before a concept is even taught, teachers present the information to briefly introduce it. Some examples of preview homework might be mini video tutorials, images and sounds to create background knowledge, even when students research and then post findings to a class website. Anything to create an introduction or background knowledge for your lesson the next day. Here is an example of one of the types of homework that we use. This is a tutorial video made on Edpuzzle with embedded questions. So students watch the tutorial and then they respond to the questions. And the little green question marks below the video are where it will stop and ask questions. And then to the right, they type in their answer and we did reports at the end.
So the second strategy is homework to deepen knowledge. And this is pushing students to use their higher level thinking skills when looking at something that they've maybe already mastered. So a few suggestions for this strategy. Students can compare or contrast, classify, create analogies, and evaluate different content. They can then create their own visual project and report on their findings. Okay, so here's an example. Students use an app like Piccollage to present vocabulary words and terms from a current science unit. This can be also used as a review for the end of year testing. So here's an example that one of my students have done in the past for ecosystems, and they've given a quick visual for each of the different vocabulary terms on this particular unit. The last strategy is homework to practice or process a skill. So this is when students can independently carry out a task, and we can assign them a task for them to complete even from home. Here's a student example where they used the program called EduCreations, which is a whiteboard, an interactive online whiteboard and screencasting tool. The students created a tutorial on a master math concept for their other peers to watch and review. They created it so that they can post the video and they have the options for others to comment on it. And it also is used as an assessment tool for us teachers. Okay, so that is all for element 16 on using homework. So thank you so much for watching.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I think that was all of the presentations, correct? I don't think I have anybody out there waiting, so great job. Does anybody have any questions on anything or even questions for any of our presenters? Not hearing anybody.
And not, oh.
Nothing in the chat? Okay. Okay, so remember, you can present your element in any way that you wish. If you want to do it live or if you just want to do a video, this is kind of how we've seen a mix tonight, and it's excellent. So however you want to do it, just make sure you get it to your instructor or the instructor who's going to be running the show. And then when you're done, if you will please help us as instructors, when you are done doing your presentation, go into week 11 assignment for the presenting your element and just make a note that you completed yours. And then that reminds us as instructors, oh yeah, we got to go give you a grade, because we want to make sure we grade you on that so that you're counted. So on deck for next week, we have element 17 will be Grant Hall, Thane, and then element 18 is Courtney, element 19 is Susan and Pam, and element 20 is Brittany and Mia. So if you guys are just ready to go for next week, and it's Tony next week, so you'll want to send a link or video to Tony if you're presenting next week so that he can include those and be able to play those if you need them to be played. All right, as always, if you have any questions for any of us, here is our information again. You can email us or call us or text us. And we are happy to get back to you as soon as we can and be as helpful as we can. Just, again, any questions, any help, anything, just let us know. And if there's nothing else, thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful week.
Thanks, Carol. Job well done.
Thank you.